Is the film adaptation of the Vertigo comic of the same name, brought to the screen by Academy Award nominee Andrea Berloff in her directorial debut. This lady mobster flick stars Melissa McCarthy, Tiffany Haddish, and Elisabeth Moss as wives of Irish mobsters in 1978 Hell's Kitchen. When the dummy dudes go to jail after a deal gone awry, the ladies decide to pick up where they left off and run the streets on their own terms. Sounds like a slam dunk, right? Well, you could be wrong. When I first heard of this film, I thought it sounded really interesting. I love the cast. I'm not the biggest mobster film fan, but I thought, you know what? This could be something different and fun and interesting, and I'm really into it. It's a lot like last year's Widows by Steve McQueen, which I didn't really care for. So I was kind of hoping that this would be the fun version that I would be into. It would be my movie. And man, was I surprised when I first saw the Rotten Tomatoes score for this film. When I first checked it, it was at 12%. And I was like, this is why Rotten Tomatoes can't be trusted. This clearly can't be right. I mean, how bad could this movie be? Well, the kitchen said, challenge accepted. Now, where to even begin on judging this film? I mean, it starts with the writing, so that's where I'll start. The film moves along at quite a fast pace, I would say. It feels like there's 1,000 scenes in this movie, and they're all like 45 seconds long, and it's just like, come on, let's go, let's go, let's go. But there are very few events that actually shape the storyline, and honestly, they feel quite uneventful when they happen. There's overall just plain weak dialogue and poor story structure. There's a scene very early on, way in the beginning, no spoiler. Melissa McCarthy is just at a job interview, and it's literally like 2 lines of dialogue of just asshole man being like, I'm a man that just doesn't want a woman working here because you have kids, and her storming off to be like, well, I'm strong. And it's just like, can you write a full damn scene, please? Can we get a full scene out of this movie? Is that too much to ask? I guess it really is. Also, not a spoiler, but obviously the women trying to take over the game in their neighborhood, they start by trying to collect all of the money from the storefronts that they guard. And there's just a montage of them they're all individually just walking down the sidewalk with envelopes full of money, just counting. I'm like, excuse me, hello, any one of you is about to get rolled any minute. You can't just be walking around flashing those dollar bills. Like, put that in your damn purse. Come on, you're trying to start an empire, are you not? And overall, the whole look of the movie, oh my god, I was shocked. I tell you, I was literally actually shocked to hear that this was filmed on location and made to look like 1970s New York. I really thought that it was filmed on the Warner Brothers lot, like in their, New York soundstage or whatever, and that it was just dressed up to be 1970s New York. I feel bad for all the people that put all that hard work into it, because it just doesn't have the feel of New York like it should. It just doesn't. If you're a movie watcher, you've probably seen dozens of movies taking place in New York City, and this just feels so lifeless, and just there's zero energy. The look, everything about this film just looks too glamorous too for me. Like, there's just zero grit to it. And this is a gangster flick. It should be pretty damn gritty. But like throughout the whole film, Melissa McCarthy's hair is just perfectly feathered. Like, even when she's laying in bed, she just looks great. They all just look so good, except for Elisabeth Moss when she's having the shit kicked out of her. Otherwise, they all just look, it's kind of like how I felt about Aladdin, where it just all feels like a stage production, kind of, where it doesn't feel like we're recreating this look. It feels like we're putting on a show. This is the show version of 1978 Hell's Kitchen. Unfortunately, it just all doesn't really look that great to me, to be perfectly honest. Now let's talk about the acting, because I was pretty sure that it would be very easy to rely on the acting to at least save this film, and I can report that it did not. These are all talented performers that are put in this film, but it really feels like at every point in this film, it just feels like the guardrails are up and everything is held back from reaching its potential. Namely, Melissa McCarthy, who is just coming off of an Academy Award nomination. I thought she was great in Can You Ever Forgive Me last year, one of the best underrated films of last year. She was great in. I thought she would have plenty to work with here, plenty to do in this film. But really, she had like one scene where she goes off on a guy, and I was like, yeah, that's what this movie is supposed to be. And that was just it. I really didn't feel like she got to reach her full potential, and it just feels like she was very held back. And really the material also just wasn't there. None of these actors get to have those fun scenes where they can chew the scenery and really get into it, and even on like just a fun level, just show us what they can do, even if they aren't going for the awards. And unfortunately, things don't really fare any better for Tiffany Haddish, who I really expected to do a great job. And I'm not saying she was bad at all, because she was good. Again, the material wasn't there. And I'm not going to spoil anything right now, because I'll save it for spoiler talk at the end. But basically, she is used as a plot device quite often to cause conflict within the main group, and I was just like, really, like, come on. Shouldn't this be about a group of women working together and pulling something off? And instead it just felt like her character was there to throw a wrench into the gears whenever they needed to get something done. Elisabeth Moss, however, oh my god, Elisabeth Moss. I was counting on her and she pulls through. Her character has the best storyline, going from being this victim beaten by her husband to becoming a hit woman. She's just straight up killing people in this movie. She has a good storyline and arc, and I feel like she really sells it. I mean, there was, especially even early on, there was one scene where I was just like, damn, Elisabeth Moss, you just can't help but do acting. She didn't have as much as I wanted to see her given, but she takes that material and for the most part makes it work. I wouldn't say worth watching, but I mean, she is so good, and you just can't forget about that. Unfortunately, the thing that you would expect is this film should have such a great amount of chemistry with all these talented performers working together. They should be able to bounce back off of each other, and all these scenes where they're in diners or walking down the street talking to one another. By the way, they're constantly walking down the street at times and there's just like no one really around, and you're like, what the hell, isn't this a big major city? But I digress. But it really feels like each and every one of these actresses is almost like performing in their own slot. It's like they're doing their thing and they're in a straightforward lane, when it's like they should be coming together and really bringing this material to life. I didn't see it. It wasn't there. And it's like, I'm sure they probably had some fun making it and stuff, but you can't see it on the screen. It's not there, and that's unfortunate. I kept thinking, oh my goodness, imagine if this movie was just a wacky mob comedy. I think this could have been a pretty zany, crazy movie. Even if it wasn't actually good, I think it could at least be respectable and maybe even entertaining on some levels. Whereas this film, the product that we have is just so lifeless and flat, and it's like if you were watching a video that was like this forever. I'm telling you, my grandma has more energy after a day of physical therapy than this entire movie. Domhnall Gleeson is also in the film, and straight up, in his limited time, he has like, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 scenes, steals the damn movie. I don't know how we did it, with all these great women acting, he just straight up steals it out from under them. And Common, I forgot, was even in this movie until I was looking at the IMDb page, like, oh yeah, his entire role was to stare out of car windows at the lead characters. It's really quite unfortunate because, honestly, I like bad movies. I like a lot of bad movies. In fact, I can't wait to do a video talking about how this year I think we have had the best worst movies. Oh my goodness. Have you seen Serenity? And I really thought at the very least this film would end up on that list, and it could at least be a good bad time. Unfortunately, I can't even really fully jump on the hate train and just like hate the hell out of this movie. Yeah, it feels like I wasted 2 hours in the theater on this, and that's it, but I have movie amnesia with this one. It's like days later I'm forgetting things, like who's even in the damn movie, and I feel like the test of a great film, you might not even like it, but days later, if you're still thinking about it, that is the sign of a good film. Unfortunately, The Kitchen squanders all of its potential, and it's just a lifeless, dull movie that just amounts to nothing. I'm gonna give The Kitchen a 1.5 out of 5. It was too dull to really fully hate, but like, I am finding so few good things to talk about besides Elisabeth Moss's character and storyline. But I'm going to continue on with the spoiler talk. If you have watched this video, thank you so much. I so appreciate that. Feel free to like and subscribe. I would really appreciate that even more. I'd super appreciate comments. Talk to me and tell me how you felt about The Kitchen. But right now, I'm going to get into some spoiler talk because really, again, this movie is such a nothing. that, one, you probably don't even want to see it, but you should. Don't let me spoil things for you. Get out of here. But if you've seen it, then let's talk some smack about the kitchen. Alrighty, 3, 2, 1, spoiler time. So this whole movie just sucks. So Elisabeth Moss's character starts out as this victim being beaten by her husband, and she wants to never be hit again. She's trying to never be hit again. That's her goal. And as soon as the ladies start to take over, she, of course, being the sort of weak one, is the first target. And one of the rough guys comes and while she's taking out the trash in broad daylight out in the open, he tries to rape her, and it's like, what? But then even more, what? Domhnall Gleeson shows up out of nowhere and shoots this guy in the head, and then he's like, I came back from wherever I was, just for you, Elisabeth Moss. I liked her overall arc, where she sort of has this actual transition where she starts out a victim, she makes moves to try to change that, and then when her husband gets out of prison, she shoots his ass. She kills him when he comes after her. And I loved that. I thought that was great. That was like the one moment where I was like, yeah, way to go, movie. And then like right after that, she gets snubbed out. She gets shot herself in a home invasion. What the hell? And it's just a move to then turn the other women against each other. I was so done with it. And Tiffany Haddish, right? So her role is she's used as the villain, like basically, because we find out in this horrible twist in the end that she like set it all up from the beginning, and she's been pulling strings all along and trying to be the only lady running Hell's Kitchen. And it's like, really, do we need to do this? Margot Martindale plays her mother-in-law, and of course in the beginning she's sort of running things until the other ladies take over. And it's so dumb in this part where you can tell tensions are pretty high and everything. They're definitely arguing a lot. But then, in another scene where just no one is on the sidewalk, they're walking to dinner and Tiffany Haddish pushes her down like a 3-step staircase and she dies. And it's like, really? I just feel like she was forced to make all these poor, stupid decisions that maybe had some nuance in the comic book, but just were like, wouldn't you like pull off that kind of hit like better? And then Melissa McCarthy, she keeps sticking by her man when she shouldn't, and in the end, I like that she does sort of have him killed. I liked that, but then immediately after, from where we were in the film, I felt like we had earned her making that decision to sever ties with her man and say, you know what, sorry, you gotta go sleep with the fishes, you're done. But immediately after, I didn't feel like we had built up that wherewithal that she would save herself when Tiffany Haddish tries to have Domhnall Gleeson kill Melissa McCarthy in a deli. Melissa McCarthy comes prepared with her neighbor folk who are like, oh hey, are you gonna try to kill me right now? And we expose Tiffany Haddish and blah blah blah, and it all wraps up. And really the funniest way, where seriously, Melissa McCarthy basically just convinces Domhnall Gleeson to not kill her, and he's like, I'm done. And literally just walks on and goes, I'm like, that's about as much of a fuck as I give about this movie. The Kitchen was overall just so weak and lame and boring, and you really just don't need to see it. But if you want to, I would suggest that you wait till it's on DVD, Blu-ray, or streaming. And if you did happen to like it, I'm glad that this movie is for you. I didn't want to hate it. I didn't want to bash it. I don't want to be that guy. I want to love movies. I want to love everything I see, because I like to be entertained by movies. This was such a strong failure on all entertainment fronts. This was just not entertaining. And that is the most important thing to me when it comes to film, so I just really can't recommend it. But if you watched this, thank you so much for sticking around through the spoiler talk and hanging with me. I really appreciate it. Again, hit those comments and let me know what you thought, because genuinely, if you did like it, I want to hear your case for this film. Truly, I don't want to just be a hater. But thank you so much again for watching. Feel free to subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you in my next video.